Is the housing market going to crash in 2025? We need to talk about it. All right, so in today's video, we're talking if a housing crash is coming in 2025 and 5 things that you need to focus on right now so that way you win this year instead of being on the losing side of the real estate market. So, right now, we're going through what we consider a shifting market. We still have mortgage rates that are above 6.5%. As of when I looked this morning, we're sitting at about 6.89 on a 30-year fixed. Consumer debt is climbing. I just saw that, we're at a new all-time high for consumer debt of 1.4 trillion for things like credit cards, car loans, personal loans, things along those lines. Just hit a new all-time high. You're going to see here in a second that we have a different all-time high for consumer debt as well. But then that doesn't include things like the 1.6 trillion in student loans that are still floating out there as well. Prices softening in some markets. Actually, was just reading an article this morning that Zillow has adjusted their predictions as far as the housing market, and they predict in some metro areas a year-over-year decrease or a slowdown in the rate of appreciation that we've seen since COVID. And then with the tariff situation going on, which I've covered in some other videos, there's construction costs are going to continue to creep up as long as this tariff situation is ongoing. The higher rates price more buyers out. The higher the interest rate, the less purchasing power that a buyer has. So more and more folks get pushed out as the rates continue to increase. And then I'm going to touch on this here in a little bit, but early pre-approvals mean that you can secure better terms if the rates are going to continue to increase if the tariff situation continues. Debt levels all-time high. Like I said earlier, I just saw consumer debt. Again, that's for credit cards, personal loans, and car loans. Things along those lines are all at an all-time high. It's over 1.4 trillion. And then this 18 trillion is including mortgages as well. So collectively, we are just a nation that is entrenched in debt right now. Delinquencies are rising. Also, the federal government has reinstated the student loan payments. And so for some folks that have been on a payment plan this whole time since COVID, those folks are now going to be popping up as delinquent as well whenever those payments start kicking back in. Now, I'm here locally in the Cincinnati and Dayton, Ohio area. So I can tell you, specifically what's going on in our region. I can't speak on the other parts of the country as much, but I can tell you here in our area, days on market is slowly creeping up. Really, since COVID, we had such tight inventory for such a long time that everything that popped up got swooped off the shelves pretty quickly. But actually, we have, and depending on the neighborhood and the part of town you're looking at here, we've had inventory increases of around 10 to 20%. Again, just depending on the part of town you're looking at. We're still down. I should mention, we're still down very low compared to where we were pre-pandemic. So inventory is still tight. It's just that we are getting more inventory than we've had in the past few years. So days on market is creeping up as the more inventory is rolling out. And again, I've covered this on some other videos, but the tariffs are driving up to new construction costs. So material prices still remain volatile. I did read an article that the tariffs, just based on the lumber that you got to bring in and the other construction materials, it's about $9,000 or more per new construction, which then translates to that builder, and then the builder is ultimately passing that cost on to the end consumer. And so as they have tighter and tighter margins, less and less builders are going to take on the task of building new homes when we already have such a shortage of available homes anyway. So the ultimate question is, what do you do about all this information? All right, your first move is get pre-approved before rates climb higher. Now, with the tariff situation, if it drags on and the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell opt to not offer any relief on the interest rates, and if inflation continues to increase, then we actually could see a situation where rather than rates coming down, we might have rates go up. And so if you are shopping for a home right now and you are getting pre-approved with the lender, see if there's an opportunity for you to lock in your interest rate before it potentially creeps up. The second thing is focused on equity over appreciation. What I mean by this is that if the rate of appreciation year over year slows down compared to what we've had during these crazy past pandemic years, then you want to focus on getting a really good, what we call like buy-in spot. You want to buy in at the right terms and conditions rather than potentially overpaying for the property. And then if we don't have continued appreciation, or if it's a slower rate, you don't depend on future appreciation to bail you out. And instead, look for what I'm putting down here as strong neighborhoods in the greater Cincinnati and Dayton area. And what I mean by that is try to find pockets of opportunity for regions that are developing, like economic development. They're putting money into schools, or there's just things that are going on that you could consider what are called forced appreciation. The city themselves are making a massive financial investment in the community and try to just piggyback off of the financial investment that's going on. And that should, in theory, also increase the property value of your home. Now, if you're getting ready to sell a property this year, you just need to be aware that buyers now have more options than they have in the past few years. More inventory, more options. Things that you should consider, you should price appropriately. Now, when you're coming on the market, things you can do to set yourself apart are, for example, I have a listing right now where we opted to offer a seller concession that the buyer is going to use to buy their rate down. So obviously the biggest concern for buyers right now is affordability, with mainly the interest rates. Interest rates being higher means that they have less purchasing power. And so we are actually offering a seller concession that the buyer can use as a credit to go towards buying down their interest rate. And your first 30 days on market are going to be more important than they ever have been. We live in such an information rich era that in your first 30 days, most of the buyer pool is going to have seen your property and already made a decision on whether or not they're going to have interest in the home or not. So if you're priced too high above the market and then you end up just having to chase the market down, it becomes harder and harder to find that end buyer. Now, if you are investing this year, you need to be focusing on cash flow. Now, we obviously know that appreciation is a big part of your investment strategy. And I'm not saying that properties aren't going to continue to appreciate, but don't expect that they're going to be appreciating at the same pandemic era level of 20% year over year that they have been. You might have a slower rate of appreciation. So you really need to be diligent about your cash flow numbers. Make sure that if the market softens or continues to soften and things get more and more strained, that you want to make sure that your investment is still providing you cash flow in the times where it may get harder. Now, if you're flipping, you just need to keep this in mind too. When you're running your numbers from an ARV perspective, just make sure that you are being considerate and not pushing to new highs of the neighborhood. You really want to have some due diligence, and you really want to have the data to back and support what your ARV numbers that you're running. Now, this is just a coaching moment for if you are a fellow real estate agent or a business owner. Now is the time when you really need to lean in and you need to do, I'm going to say, shadow work, work behind the scenes to flesh out your systems, update your marketing, especially your online presence. This is going to be a time when a lot of other agents and business owners fall out because times are going to get difficult. And this is when you really need to lean in and you need to eat up as much market share as you possibly can and make sure that you establish yourself online in a way that other people are not. And so you stand out from your competition. This is going to be a shifting market. And when we have those kinds of opportunities, this actually means that this is a phenomenal opportunity for you to lean in, eat up market share. And if once we shift back the other direction, you will have so much opportunity on the greener side of the pasture, so to speak. And you really just need to lean in now in order to make that work happen for your future self. So kind of in conclusion here, for 2025, we really just need to be more strategic than we have been in past years. This is not a time to be emotional. Emotions are going to cost you money. We really need to be as strategic and intentional as possible with our financial investments, especially in housing. And you really want to be focusing on your long-term wealth building plan in your local area. If you made it all the way here to the end and you would like to connect with me, I would love to meet with you if you're here locally in the Cincinnati or Dayton area. But even if you're national, I'd love to connect with you as well. You can text me directly. My phone number is 937-888-2099. Would love to connect with you over the phone. Otherwise, in the description, there is a form you can quickly fill out. It's 10 questions, super easy. Would love to just connect with you if I can be of service to you. If you're doing any of these things this year, if you're buying, selling, investing in real estate, or you're looking into a real estate career, love to help you on that journey. You can fill out the quick form and it will notify me that you're interested. And then otherwise on the channel here, I am putting out weekly content on here. I'm doing longer form videos, and then I'm also posting daily shorts on kind of this industry news that's going on. Would love for you to subscribe. That would mean the world to me. If you would also like or comment on the video, that is helpful as well. We'll get through this together. Even though it's a shifting market, don't be scared. These things happen. Real estate is cyclical. This is actually a great opportunity time, depending on where you are in the market, and I would love to help you navigate it. Let's get through it together. Peace and love.